It's going to be part 2 of the Hall of Fame, NASCAR Hall of Fame nominees, and some people I think should be on the list to be nominated that are not, even though they only take 5 a year, not enough. And so we're going to left off with Wendell Scott. Ralph Seagraves formed the groundbreaking Winston NASCAR partnership as an executive with the R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company. Again, should be in. No doubt, the whole Reynolds Company should be in, R.J. Reynolds Company. O. Bruton Smith, builder of Charlotte Motor Speedway, architect of Speedway Motorsports, has built some tracks, has bought some tracks. Bruton Smith does have one knock. Charlotte Motor Speedway almost went out of business, went into bankruptcy, and he bought his way back into it. He come up from the bottom, bought his way back into it, and now owns several tracks. And he's butted heads with the France family, frankly competes with them, because the France family runs the International Speedway Corporation, Daytona, Talladega, Darlington, and others, and they're competing tracks, literally. But Bruton Smith could have decided, well, I'm going to take my tracks and start my own series. He didn't do that. Yeah, should be in. Curtis Turner, called the Babe Ruth of stock car racing in the early days, and frankly was out of NASCAR for 4 years because of a feud with Big Bill France. Who knows what could have happened if he'd been in NASCAR those 4 years. Definitely should be in. Won some races. Joe Weatherly, 2-time NASCAR Premier Series champion, killed at Riverside early in the '64 season, while the defending Premier Series champion, if he had lived in what was, by today's standards, would not have been a bad crash at all. I've seen pictures of the car, understand he didn't have shoulder harnesses on. Of course, now you don't get away with that. Killed at Riverside, but he, again, if you go by all past champs that meet the criteria being retired out of the seat long enough, he should be in. Ditto for the final one. Rex White, 1960 NASCAR Premier, now Sprint Cup Series champion, the oldest living champion. Some of these guys ought to get in while they're still living. Cotton Owens got in last year. Now, he did live long enough to know he got in, but he did not get to attend the induction ceremony. As a champion car owner, you know, maybe he should have been in. Maybe they need to do more than one session a year in several categories. You have drivers, of course, that's your main, but then you have car owners, crew chiefs, track personnel. Now, let me get to some guys that I think are overlooked. And I do not know if this first man's still living or not. Richard Howard, Hart Furniture Company out of, I think, Denver, North Carolina. Richard Howard, after Bruton Smith almost run Charlotte Motor Speedway into the ground, brought it out of bankruptcy, paid off the mortgage, and then kind of got forced out when Bruton Smith come back, as I understand it. I could be wrong on that. But Richard Howard should be in. And I'm going to name 2 media members I think ought to be in. Chris Economaki, the Dean of Motorsports Broadcasting, just passed away last year, I think. He should be in. Ken Squire. Without Ken Squire, you know, it's 10:30 on a Sunday morning. At 1 o'clock or 1:30, the truck race comes on speed. Without Ken Squire, there might not even be a truck series, or certainly not on TV, as he talked CBS into carrying Daytona. Another one I think's ignored is the old Winston West Pacific Coast Late Model Division. They had some good drivers out there. Ray Elder, 2 wins at Riverside in the combined races. Jack McCoy, multi-time champ of the Winston West Pacific Coast Late Models, as it was known. And those are just a few off the top of my head. I didn't make any notes. I mean, I've got some vlogs up. Ken Squire's one of them. Here's another one that I've got a vlog up on. And yes, I'm a Dale Jr. fan. I was a Big E fan. But I think Ralph Earnhardt ought to be in the Hall of Fame. He proved you can make a living out of short track racing. He's not been nominated. Banjo Matthews, I got a vlog up on him being in the Hall of Fame. Should be in. His cars, if you happen to come across the DVD of the 79 Daytona 500, his surface plate cars won every single race in 1978. He won so many races and so many championships, not as an owner, but as cars that started out in his shop. A lot of Junior Johnson cars were Banjo cars. And that's just a few off the top of my head. There's more. You can make arguments for so many. I mean, there's just so many. You can make arguments for track operators. But it's just been kind of my thoughts. You can agree, disagree, like, dislike. You know, I've said it before. It don't bother me if you say, well, you're crazy, Ralph Earnhardt don't belong in the Hall of Fame. The only thing I ask, I run a clean channel. Keep the comments clean. Thanks.